where at some point, if you're a Nebraska fan or a leader in this ball house or something Nebraska related, you have to break through at some point. You just have to break through at some point. And so I begin to wonder, is this the game that they break through? Week 4 of the college football season is absolutely loaded. And we're looking at about 4 or 5 games that we're going to predict here today, preview and everything. And then I got the biggest takeaway that I have for the first month of the college football season. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the AP poll. Because I've had almost like a pot of water that was on about medium to low, not really boiling, warm, but a little bit, nothing egregious, nothing boiling over. And I'm at the point where it's got turned up to high and I am ready for some pasta because I'm pissed off about the AP poll. I don't know if that analogy worked out. I apologize, guys. It has been one of those days. If they were to put an injury report out for the Stadium Pulse, I think about 10, 15 minutes ago, we were looking at doubtful. But because I love talking about college football and because this is the thing that I was destined to do, is to sit in front of a microphone and talk about college football with you guys. We're here. And this is going to be the best part of my day. I can tell you that right now. Y'all want to talk about some games? Well, we previewed and predicted Texas Tech and Utah on the Tuesday show. And then we talked about what was the other show that we did. If I'm drawing a blank, I do apologize. Geez, I am all over the place today. All I know is we're going to be talking about the Bussin' Bowl a little bit more, if I can get to my notes. Let's just go ahead and dive in. Here's a little end point for the editor. Can Michigan... No, we're going to restart. We're going to restart on that one. Can Nebraska stop the run? That's what we're going to find out. Because Nebraska, in their week 1 matchup against Cincinnati, they couldn't stop Brendan Sorsby. They could not stop the run. Here, one moment, guys. Let me double check on something. Let's talk about Michigan, Nebraska, the Bussin' Bowl, as many people have called it, from Bussin' with the Boys. You have 2 very interesting teams for the 2025 season, to be honest. We're looking at a Michigan team that I've said for a while now is kind of working with house money. If they are a contender now, they're looking like a program that has basically 3 years of a national championship window. Don't think that's going to be the case this year, just solely for the fact that Bryce Underwood, it's going to take some time for him to have the pieces around him and let him develop into a national championship level quarterback, because that's why you pay $11 million to go get a kid like that to change the trajectory of your program. Nebraska, on the other hand, is almost a year in front of Michigan in the sense of their quarterback development with Dylan Raiola. They're not dealing with the true freshman right now. He's going to be at home. He seems a little bit more improved. We'll see how improved he is, because week 1 against Cincinnati, it was a lot of checkdowns. It was a lot of dink and dunk, not a lot of explosives. And that's the first question I put down. Can Nebraska create explosives against a very good Michigan team? I think that's a fair question to ask, because if they're not able to, and Michigan on the opposite side, be able to enforce their will, run the football, Justice Haynes, Bryce Underwood was able to run for 100 yards the previous week. And I think that's almost an aspect of this game that we can dive a little bit more into to see if, is that a trend or is that a one-off appearance for Bryce Underwood to run the football? Because one of the things that I was very surprised about when we were talking about the Oklahoma-Michigan game and recapping that was the lack of leaning into that space and to run Bryce Underwood a little bit more. We saw it with Mateer, where they were doing a lot of quarterback runs because it could bring in an extra blocker. Instead of, say, a 5-man offensive line set, no tight end, you're able to have a 6 blocker with the running back. And it adds another level of physicality to your rushing attack. It does leave your quarterback at risk. That's the inherent truth about it. But with the size that Bryce Underwood had, it felt like they were kind of calling plays as if they were having a Lamborghini that can't have a scratch on it. You can't risk an injury. You're playing as if he's worth $11 million, and he is, but you can't call plays like he's worth $11 million. You have to call it as a guy that you want to be aggressive with because he is super talented. What is that dynamic going to change to is my first initial question for Michigan's play calling, because there's no Sharon Moore in this game, which I think is an interesting dynamic of what that could look like. Nebraska is not the favorites here. You are facing the 21st best team in the country, 1.5 point dogs on the road. Well, Nebraska's on the road, Michigan's on the road. This is a very tough game to predict because I think those two key components are going to dictate this game. Truly, I think if Michigan's able to impose their will running the football, they're probably winning the football game. If Nebraska can't create explosives, they're probably not winning the football game. So when we look at these two things, you start to begin wondering, can Nebraska step up? That's the third question. Will Nebraska step up and actually execute and be the team that we all, I think for the most part, unless there's a Nebraska hater out there, I spoke highly of them. I think the wide receivers are to be seen as what I thought they were in the preseason. I think Dylan Raiola, metrics-wise, has looked fantastic. A lot of advanced analytics lean heavily towards Dylan Raiola as one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But it's to be seen if he could do that against Michigan. This is, I guess, a very light way of putting it, their Texas A&M moment, where at some point, if you're a Nebraska fan or a leader in this ball house or something, Nebraska related, you have to break through at some point. You just have to break through at some point. And so I begin to wonder, is this the game that they break through? Because Michigan, like I said, they're working with house money. If they lose this game, they have a true freshman quarterback that you just want to see him develop and get better. Obviously, you want to leave with some semblance of hope, and they'll have plenty of opportunities for that. But they also don't need this game like Nebraska needs it. All the ingredients are there for Nebraska to break through in this game. And if you asked me earlier in the week, I'd probably lean Michigan. I think that they're potentially going to be the more physical football team. I think that they have a lot of things working with them, especially the fact that Bryce Underwood played that game against Oklahoma in Oklahoma. It's not the first time he's been in a road environment that's going to be very difficult to play in. You're not playing the same talent level that Oklahoma had. You're not having to go head-to-head with the Heisman leader. There's a lot of things working in your favor. So with that in mind, I would have picked Michigan before. I'm going with Nebraska to pull off the upset. By betting terms, it's an upset. So I really do trust that Nebraska, this is their moment in the best way I can put it. This is the moment that Nebraska returns to national spotlight and they become a sneaky dark horse for a college football playoff spot.